Good morning, everyone. It's the third day in January 2023, and we're in Exodus 14. And I'd say we just get right on reading. We have a bit to go here. Exodus 14. From Etham to the Sea of Reeds. I've never heard that. The Sea of Reeds. I should go check that out. Let's write that down. Sea of Reeds. Hi, Bo. I heard you coming down. It's not time to go outside yet. Nope. You have to wait. There's something cruising around out there. Yeah. Yep. You guys were even you were growling in the bed up there with Sissy, huh? You were growling. That's a rare thing. So something was cruising around. I thought I heard a shot. Then I thought I heard another one, but it sounded more like maybe a tree that cracked. I don't know. I have no idea. It was windy. But all the dogs were agitated. The two outside, this one in the house. So they'll have to wait till daylight before I let them all out together. He's ready to go now, but he can hold it for another little bit, can't you? Huh? Oh, huh? Can't you? Huh? I say you can. Huh? You not talk? You're teaching all the other ones to talk. Uh-huh. I know. Huh? What? Well, you have to wait. I swear that dog's half human. You're not a normal dog. You really aren't. Huh? Yeah. I know. Oh, no. You have to wait. Cece's orders. I'm good with it. Huh? Leader of our pack. Anyway, there he goes. He lays down. He says, yep, I gotcha. I understand. So, Yahweh spoke to Moses and said, tell the Israelites to turn back and pitch camp in front of Pi-hahiroth. Turn back? Why? Between Migdol and the sea facing Baal-Zephon. You know, another thing that came to my mind, see, after I read this and that, then I do my housework and all that, things keep coming back to my mind. And one thing that came back to me is that I didn't mention on how God guided his people, right? Yes, and kind of prepared the way. And I feel like in our life, it's the same thing, right? What just depends on what do we want to guide us in our life, right? Yes? And then kind of acknowledge, oh, look, this is prepared. Of course, always with, right, us being prepared as well. And I found that, and however it happened, really inspiring, right? Yeah, to also go into a new year. Okay, it seems like the change from one year to the other year had to be starting the beginning of a month again, right? The first month of the year seems to be, okay, all right, let's regroup, right? Yes? Let's try this again. Interesting to me. So that guidance that God gave the Israelites, Moses and Aaron specifically, to then guide his people. Anyway, interesting to me, how that really all applies still today. We have to be aware of it too. That's true. You must pitch your camp opposite this place, beside the sea, and then Pharaoh will think the Israelites are wandering to and fro in the countryside. The desert has closed in on them. I shall then make Pharaoh stubborn, and he will set out in pursuit of them. And I shall win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and his whole army. And then the Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh. And the Israelites did this. So the dangers are still there. It's like, how many Egyptians were there? Again, 600,000 men, plus all their wives and children and slaves. And that's a lot of people. Yeah, and because they have them women and children and all their livestock. I'm sure that if you just show up with a big enough army, you could make a big old blood bath. Right? Pharaoh's still not giving in? Okay, as God said, he makes him stubborn. I mean, okay, really? I'm not kidding this either. The Egyptians pursue the Israelites. When Pharaoh, king of Egypt, was told that the people had fled, well, did they flee? They didn't flee. He let them go. So they wandered off and they didn't flee. See? How is this written down? He and his officials changed their attitude towards the people. What have we done, they said, allowing Israel to leave our service? So Pharaoh had his chariot harnessed and set out with his troops, taking 600 of the best chariots and all the other chariots in Egypt, with officers in each. 600 against how many? Yahweh made Pharaoh king of Egypt stubborn, and he gave chase to the Israelites. The Israelites marched confidently away, but the Egyptians, all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, his horsemen, and his army, there were more than, gave chase and caught up with them, where they lay encamped beside the sea near Pi-hahiroth, facing Baal-zephon. Interesting names. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up, and there were the Egyptians in pursuit of them. The Israelites were terrified and cried out to Yahweh for help. To Moses they said, was it for lack of graves in Egypt that you had to lead us out to die in the desert? That's almost a joke. What was the point of bringing us out of Egypt? Did we not tell you as much in Egypt? Leave us alone. We said we would rather work for the Egyptians. Aha. I don't think this was just for the Egyptians. I think I'm starting to understand a little better why the Pharaoh didn't give in, and why maybe God kind of egged him on a little bit. I don't know. Because here are the Israelites. There's no faith. They have no faith in their God. They have no faith in Yahweh, and it seems to me like it's more that the Israelites need to know, I am Yahweh, and I am the one that will protect you and guide you. And I am the one who's going to make the rules. I am the one who will have you start to follow the laws of heaven, not to make one miserable. There's so much that already at this time needs to be restored. It sounds like it, right? For the people to be happy, they do nothing but complain, right? They're in a bad situation as slaves and workers in service of the Pharaoh and having to work for them. And then that's a complaint, right? Then when they're let out and make their own people and are on their own, and the least little thing that comes towards them, they're already all in the heebie-jeebies again. Right? Yes? Finicky people they are. They really are finicky people. All right, I can say that now, right? Well, anyway, but again, where's the faith in Yahweh? We've already, to the Egyptians, the 10 plagues may have been 10 plagues, but to the Israelites, there should have been 10 miracles, right? Well, anyway. We prefer to work for the Egyptians than to die in the desert. Moses said to the people, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see what Yahweh will do to rescue you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. Yahweh will do the fighting for you. All you need to do is to keep calm." There you go. The miracle of the sea. Yahweh then said to Moses, "Why cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to march on. Your part is to raise your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it, so that the Israelites can walk through the sea on dry ground. While I, for my part, shall make the Egyptians so stubborn that they will follow them, and I shall win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, chariots and horsemen. And when I have won glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and his chariots and horsemen, the Egyptians will know that I am Yahweh." Then the angel of God, who preceded the army of Israel, changed station and followed behind them. The pillar of cloud moved from their front and took position behind them. It came between the army of the Egyptians and the army of Israel. The cloud was dark, and the night passed without the one drawing any closer to the other the whole night long. Then Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh drove the sea back with a strong easterly wind all night and made the sea into dry land. The waters were divided, and the Israelites went on dry ground right through the sea, with walls of water to right and left of them. The Egyptians gave chase, and all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and horsemen went into the sea after them. In the morning watch, Yahweh looked down on the army of the Egyptians from the pillar of fire and cloud, and threw the Egyptian army into confusion. He so clogged their chariot wheels that they drove on only with difficulty, which made the Egyptians say, "Let us flee from Israel, for Yahweh is fighting on their side against the Egyptians." Then Yahweh said to Moses, "Stretch out your hand over the sea and let the waters flow back on the Egyptians and on their chariots and their horsemen." Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and as they broke, the sea returned to its bed. The fleeing Egyptians ran straight into it, and Yahweh overthrew the Egyptians in the middle of the sea. The returning waters washed right over the chariots and horsemen of Pharaoh's entire army, which had followed the Israelites into the sea. Not a single one of them was left. The Israelites, however, had marched through the sea on dry ground, with walls of water to right and left of them. That day Yahweh rescued Israel from the clutches of the Egyptians, and Israel saw the Egyptians lying dead on the seashore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Yahweh had performed against the Egyptians, the people revered Yahweh and put their faith in Yahweh and in Moses, his servant. Oh, there you go. Didn't I tell you that's how it's going to come out to be? Well, anyway, here we go. More dead people. I think, Bo. It's just a never-ending story, huh? I don't know. I mean, why isn't it working today, in today's world, as it did at that time? I think that even good is conflicted in many ways. Yeah? Yes. And so you have people just fighting against each other. I mean, when I think right now that we have two countries out in the world openly fighting against each other, dropping bombs, which, by the way, that is such a cowardly way, right? Yes? To fight a war anyway. It's like, I don't know, is there a good side there? It's kind of hard to know if there is when it comes to the leaders anyway, right? Yeah, killing each other in a way. I think the people always have to remember, if people just, commoners just said, we're not doing this anymore, we're done. We're done. We're laying our arms down. What are the leaders going to do? Maybe they could, I don't know, do either of them, the Ukrainian dude and the Russian dude, the leaders there, do they know how to fight, actually, in proper combat? I wonder. Why don't people say, hey, you know what, you got to beef against each other? You can't figure out something peaceful? Both of them stubborn, aren't they? Both pharaohs. Yeah, there's no God there guiding them, I don't think. Just stubborn, stubborn. Why don't they just fight against each other, those two? Huh? Let the best man win or something? Using their own people. Using their own people. Well, one of them started it. Okay, well, we don't really know, right? What all went on there, this and that, but in this day and age, to start a war like that should tell you something about these two. Oh, wait, we got other places, right, in the world, still stuff going on like that. Yeah. This day and age, leaders can't get together and make peace for the sake of their common people. Well, but as the story tells us, right, if you got, like the evil side, the bad side, and they don't want to stop and give in, well, again, I've said this too many times already. It's the leaders. It's not the common people who want that war. And to fight over property or to fight over, this just doesn't make any sense to me. Here I am, just a simple woman. And what? I got better head on my shoulders than these leaders out there? Mm. Unbelievable. But then I also heard just the speech of True Mother, the New Year's blessing she gave to the world. And when we march forward, like the Israelites should have, trust in God that He protects them, guides them in the front, and protects them in their back, at their back. And march forward and keep teaching. Keep teaching the true principles of creation and the true principles of love. And they're not that hard to understand. To be a keeper and a user of things, but to never be an abuser. Right? Yes, learn how to get along without any exceptions. Yeah. Yes. People too damaged, their psyche too destroyed to be able to do that anymore. I said, True Mother said, all the good things you're doing out there, and I have to just commend, especially the men out there who are fighting for the freedom of abused children in any area, and then also of abused women. That's men who are fighting for that, are putting their whole self out there for that and commit to that. That's going to that is going to be a foundation for many, many more to be freed out of misery. Of course, created by whom? Other human beings. Then the ones too, are really, the drugs are just Why do people need so many drugs? Again, if you didn't want it out there, if people didn't want so much of it, then these drug cartels, they all, right, what they do, the human trafficking is the same thing. If it's such a booming business, right? If the people didn't want it, it wouldn't exist. It wouldn't. So there it is. Yes. In that passage in Exodus, many people lost their lives. Not one of the Israelites, sounds like. But many Egyptians lost their lives. Many men didn't return home to their wives and their children. Eh? Yes? Well, it's called collateral damage, right? That's so acceptable. I'm not sure if the story is exactly as it is. Is God okay with collateral damage? In spirit world, there is only one spirit that has the absolute upper hand in anything. And there you have to you don't get to anymore to do as you want. But on earth, that's our domain. It really is. We get the guidance from spirit world. And the Israelites just said, we're done. We're going back. Yet they did move forward. They were afraid, so they went, where are you going? They were afraid, and they did follow God's guidance and witnessed another miracle. And the Egyptians, lots of them had to give their lives. It's an odd one, kind of difficult to figure out how to weave that all in today's time. But again, True Mother's address for the new year was, you will see your faith and belief in the good and the goodness that you put out there yourself. It'll bear fruit. The substance, the foundation, it's beginning to take hold. That's really inspiring to me. So again, what you're already good at on the side of goodness, in the positive, get better, get even better, right? Yes, if you can. Make even more effort and don't be afraid, because God will guide you and God will also have your back. Yes? That's what I believe. So we're going to continue the Bible readings videos. Yes. And some other things. Time is a great, people are having a lot of respiratory problems these days. And of course, that always includes our lungs. And I just saw a good one. I think sometimes I have to be reminded of to tell people, right? Is time. THYME, time. And it's easy to grow. You can grow that in a probably, if you do it inside, to have a few pots of them. It's easy to grow with a little care. And you chew up about a half a teaspoon when you need it. And it helps with your respiratory tract, with your lungs, and it gets that phlegm out as well, right? Yes, takes care of that phlegm. Yeah? It's nice to be able to breathe, right? Nicely, yes. So, besides that, it also disinfects your mouth and helps your teeth and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of cool, isn't it? Yeah. Anywho, so there it is. Time. One more good thing to give out there. All right, that's all I have to say today. It's still dark. God's love and blessings always, and may He protect you. And I will talk to you another time.